You split chores, you split plans, you tell yourselves it is equal. But watch what happens when both of you are overwhelmed. One person's stress reshapes the evening, the other adjusts around it. Income decides whose exhaustion gets priority. It decides whose bad day cancels dinner, whose burnout becomes urgent, whose fatigue gets postponed. You call it fairness, but money quietly ranks whose pressure matters first. You say the relationship is equal, you both work, you both contribute, but pressure reveals rank. When both of you are tired, one person's stress reshapes the evening. Plans move around it. Silence protects it. The higher income becomes the heavier burden in the room, not emotionally, structurally. Their deadlines feel riskier. Their fatigue feels expensive. The other person's exhaustion becomes flexible. It waits. Income decides whose burnout threatens stability. The one tied closer to financial continuity carries visible gravity. Conversations adjust without permission. Tone softens around one partner first. This does not feel unfair, it feels practical. But practicality is how hierarchy enters quietly. Stress becomes ranked, priority becomes directional, and once stress is directional, so is power. Over time, this ranking becomes automatic. You anticipate whose stress must be handled first. You pre-adjust before conflict begins. One partner's long week cancels plans without debate. The other partner's long week becomes background noise. Even sympathy starts flowing unevenly. Friends ask about the higher earner's workload first. Family treats their stress as fragile. The room absorbs the idea that one role is critical, the other is supportive. And once a role becomes critical, it becomes central. Everything else begins orbiting around it. This ranking of stress did not begin in this relationship. It began the first time you saw money control the mood of a home. As a child, you learned whose work mattered more. You watched whose exhaustion stopped conversation. You saw whose job could not be questioned. Income decided who got protected and who adapted. One parent's pressure felt dangerous to interrupt. The other parent absorbed tension quietly. Your body memorized that pattern. Stability attached itself to the higher earner. Sensitivity attached itself to the lower one. You learned that some stress threatens survival, other stress can wait. That lesson does not disappear in adulthood. It hides inside attraction. The partner who earns more can feel like safety. Their workload feels heavier by default. Their burnout feels urgent. The other partner may feel responsible for smoothing the edges, not because they are weaker, because their nervous system learned to protect the source of continuity. What feels like fairness now may be a replay. Income becomes the signal for whose stress carries consequence. The body still reacts the way it did years ago. When money was tight, you saw tension spike faster. When money was stable, the room felt calmer. That association burned in quietly. Financial threat meant emotional emergency. The person tied to income became the emotional barometer. Everyone adjusted around them. You learned to scan for that signal. You learned to prioritize it before your own discomfort. Now, when your partner earns more, your system reacts the same way. Their stress feels like a threat to the structure. Yours feels negotiable, even if you never say it out loud, even if they never ask for it. The hierarchy feels natural. Familiar patterns rarely feel unfair. They feel normal. The body does not rank stress logically. It ranks it by threat. When income feels tied to survival, the higher earner's pressure feels heavier in the nervous system. Their bad week feels like instability. Their burnout feels like danger. The lower earner's exhaustion does not trigger the same alarm. It feels uncomfortable, not catastrophic. So the body responds differently. One partner gets space automatically. The other partner compresses. One voice gets softened around, the other voice lowers itself. This is not conscious strategy. It is survival sorting. The nervous system protects the source of continuity first. If one income pays most of the rent, that income becomes structural safety. Safety gets prioritized over fairness. Over time, this creates emotional asymmetry. The higher earner can express frustration without fearing collapse. The lower earner may hesitate before adding more strain. Conflict starts to filter through risk assessment. Who can afford tension? Who cannot? Even attraction responds to this difference. Calm under pressure reads as strength. Urgency under pressure reads as instability. The partner who appears least threatened gains quiet authority, and authority changes how desire behaves in the room. At some point, this stops being about stress. It becomes about role. The higher earner becomes the critical one, the one whose pressure must be managed, the one whose breakdown would threaten stability. The lower earner becomes the adaptable one, the one expected to absorb, the one who can stretch. These roles harden quietly. Attraction begins attaching to them. The higher earner may feel important under pressure. The lower earner may feel valuable through support. Both identities start protecting this structure. If the lower earner demands equal emotional priority, it can feel disruptive. If the higher earner steps back from financial dominance, it can feel destabilizing. Equality threatens the familiar order. The partner who earns less may unconsciously downplay their strain to preserve harmony. The partner who earns more may unconsciously expect accommodation to preserve control. This is not villain behavior, it is identity loyalty. Each person stays loyal to the role that keeps the structure intact. Love remains, but love now operates inside a ranked system. And once a system ranks stress, it also ranks voice. The one whose pressure counts first slowly becomes the one whose needs define the room. This imbalance runs on simple mechanisms. Income creates perceived risk. Perceived risk creates priority. The partner whose income carries more structural weight becomes the stress anchor. When they are overwhelmed, the system reacts faster. Plans shift, conversations soften, expectations lower. The other partner's strain gets delayed. Not denied, delayed. Over time, delay becomes pattern. Pattern becomes position. Even language starts revealing it. They have a lot on their plate sounds protective. It also sounds hierarchical. The higher earner's fatigue justifies withdrawal. The lower earner's fatigue justifies endurance. Financial contribution quietly converts into emotional leverage. The one funding stability gains unspoken authority, not through demand, through gravity. Gravity pulls attention first. It pulls sympathy first. It pulls silence first. In arguments, the partner tied closest to continuity can threaten distance without saying a word. The other partner feels the cost immediately, so tone shifts, volume lowers, needs get edited. Attraction begins orbiting the person least destabilized by loss, and the more that orbit stabilizes, the less equal the relationship actually feels. Over time, even small decisions reflect this shift. Vacations align with the higher earner's schedule first. Social plans bend around their workload. If they're exhausted, the night ends early. If the other partner is exhausted, the night continues. Friends begin deferring to the income source without realizing it. Family treats their career as central to the household identity. The partner earning less may start minimizing their own strain before speaking, not out of weakness, out of calibration. They sense whose stress threatens structure. When structure is threatened, the room reacts. When personal comfort is threatened, it adjusts. That difference hardens quietly, and once it hardens, equality becomes a story you tell, not the dynamic you live inside. Over time, this hierarchy stops feeling temporary. It becomes the emotional operating system of the relationship. The higher earner's stress sets the ceiling for conflict. If they are overwhelmed, hard conversations get postponed. If they are calm, tension becomes allowed. The lower earner begins scanning before speaking. They measure timing. They reduce intensity. They choose moments carefully. Their frustration gets filtered through financial consequence. Ambition can narrow quietly. Career risks feel irresponsible. Personal expansion feels selfish. The higher earner's stability becomes the axis everything rotates around. Social identity shifts too. Friends introduce them through the income role first. Family protects their workload more fiercely. The partner earning less becomes known for flexibility, known for support, known for understanding. Over time, that reputation becomes expectation. Expectation becomes behavior. Behavior becomes personality. Attraction narrows inside this structure. One partner carries visible authority, the other carries visible accommodation. And the longer this pattern runs, the harder it becomes to remember what equal stress actually felt like. Here is what settles in quietly. The partner whose income carries the structure knows their stress moves the room, even if they never say it. The partner earning less knows their stress does not move it the same way, even if they never admit